Hello, I'm Matthew, we're the Scoopes, and tonight I'm making sloppy joes. Sloppy joes are something that we eat quite frequently here. The interesting thing is generally I have everything I need to make them already. But funny enough, the only thing I actually needed to go out and get today was bell pepper. I had everything else either in the pantry or in the fridge already. So let's go ahead and start putting everything together here. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is go ahead, add our ground beef. This is 2 pounds. Now it is preferable to use leaner beef. In this case I did not, because the fattier the ground beef, the cheaper it is. Now all that means is through the initial cooking process, at one point I will be draining the grease that's forming in here. Otherwise, you won't really have to do that with a leaner ground beef. Next, we're going to add our chopped onion. This was just a half an onion. This is about, I'd say, a cup and a half, maybe a cup and 3/4. And we'll go ahead, turn our stove on, and begin mixing this all up. Now, just so you know, I will have a list of all the ingredients that I use here tonight in the description below. Now, as far as how fine you chop your onion up, that is all personal preference. You can even use less or more depending on your own taste. And we're just going to keep chopping and mixing, stirring this up. And what we're going for is, as this begins to actually heat up, we're looking to get a good crumble on all of this meat here. We want it really finely crumbled here. That's part of what makes the sloppy joe the texture that it is. Now at this point, the meat's beginning to get cooked up here and starting to be able to get broken down into these small crumbles. And then, as you can see, a lot of grease is forming up in here. So this is why it's recommended to use a leaner meat or strain off the meat, which I'll be doing here in just a moment. Alright, so we got all that grease strained off now. And as you can see, it's coming together quite nicely. The onions are starting to turn a little clear, and you can tell that the meat is browning quite nicely here. So now let's go ahead and add the bell peppers. And that is 1 whole bell pepper, all good and chopped up. And we'll get that all put in there, mixed together. And we're going to cook this for just a couple of minutes here before we start adding some more stuff to it. And again, anytime you're stirring, you see any larger chunks, go ahead and just start kind of breaking those up, because again, we want a good crumble on the meat. Let's go ahead and add our garlic. I've got 3 garlic cloves that we've chopped up here. And of course, with that garlic in there, it starts cooking up and it smells just absolutely amazing. Now I have reduced the heat just a little bit because I felt like the heat was getting a little too hot. Still a little above medium. It's like a medium high, I guess. Now we're going to start adding in the stuff that actually begins making the sauce, starting with ketchup. Now, depending on how much meat you're cooking up and how saucy you like your mix will depend on how much you put in. We're usually looking at somewhere between 3/4 of a cup and a full cup of ketchup. I'd say that's about a cup right there. Get that good and stirred in. And if you feel like you need to add more, you can add more. Now once you add the ketchup to it, it really starts to take on that sloppy joe smell. And that's looking really good there. So the next thing we're going to add is mustard. Now with the mustard, we're looking at about 2 tablespoons that we're going to put in here. Now, if you have any kind of like a Dijon or anything like that, you can use that. I'm just using regular old yellow mustard. About 2 tablespoons. Mix that in really nice and good there. And we're also going to add 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. And the last bit for the sauce side of things is a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. We're looking at probably about a teaspoon. You don't want a whole lot of this. Now right there is probably enough. And let's get that good and mixed in here. If you feel like you need a little bit more, obviously you can add a little bit more, but you don't want to go too heavy. All right, now, before we actually add some additional seasonings, I'm actually going to add 1 cup of water to this. It's going to kind of make it a sloppy mess, but that's okay, because what's going to happen is all this water is going to evaporate off. It's also going to allow us to go ahead and let this simmer. All right, let's add some seasoning. I'm going to add some salt. I'm going to do about a teaspoon and a half. Mix that all up in there. Now we're going to add a few other things here. One of the things I'm actually going to be adding is a little bit of rosemary. It's about a teaspoon. And I'll just go ahead and crush it up a little bit further. If you've got one of the grinders, you can use that too. Just kind of spread that through here. And we're also going to add just a little bit of thyme and a little bit of basil. Again, about a teaspoon of each. And for my last little bit here, some crushed red pepper. Again, not a whole lot, maybe a teaspoon. That just kind of gives it a nice little kick without being too overly spicy. And now all we do is let this simmer. So I've turned the heat down. I'm going to turn that just a little bit more actually. Turned it down, and we're going to let this simmer for a good 20 minutes. Just to make sure that everything gets nice and cooked and blended together, all of the flavors come together, and of course all of the liquid that we put in, which as you can see most of it's already gone, but the rest of it's going to simmer off. And we'll come back in about 20 minutes. Alright, it's been about 20 minutes now. And as you can see, pretty much all of that water, all that moisture has evaporated and cooked off. And we're left with this good, solid, sloppy Joe mix. Now, what you're looking for is you should be able to scoop some up and it just kind of stays on there like that. So that way it stays on your sandwich. And this looks to be about done. This is the point where if you wanted to, give it a quick taste test. See if you need to add a little more salt. Maybe you'd like to add a little bit of black pepper to it. Anything like that. Anything you need to spice it up. Now's the time to do it. If you add a little bit extra to it, I would recommend stirring it in, giving it a couple of minutes to kind of cook in and blend with the rest of it. Otherwise, it's time to serve. And there you have it, Sloppy Joes. So if you'd like to see more cooking videos from us, like to learn new recipes, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, give us a thumbs up, and that way you'll know when we upload a new video. Otherwise, thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.